Hey, welcome back. It is as always good to see you today. It is Thursday, and I think I can still hear the intro music, and I don't know why. I can hear myself too. We don't want that. All right. Hello, Mademoiselle Scythe. So good to see you, my dear. Thank you so much for always being here. I greatly appreciate you. You are my YouTube wife, so, you know, you're ready for your coma now. Coma? Oh, coma. Ready for your coma. Yeah, we're gonna be watching Beck. Hello, Lizzie. Hello, Mars. I'm like, coma. Um, Good to see both of you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a good Thursday. Um, yeah, it's been a rough week or so last week, but we're gonna power through here. Um, so I thought we might watch a couple of Beck's videos, but they're kind of long, these Q&As. So so I think we're just going to watch the Mr. Snowflake Part 2 because that seems to be where a lot of the current relevant stuff is coming from. And then if it's not too terribly late, we may watch Lex's video. Lex uploaded a video yesterday, and I think some things, or not yesterday, Tuesday. And I think some things from Lex's video were being brought up, and Amberlynn's live stream on Tuesday. So maybe we'll try to watch Lex really quick as well after we finish Beck's Mr. Snowflake Q&A Part 2. I was going to try to do the Jordy Q&A too, but we will watch that later, maybe this weekend. Maybe Saturday. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Since, yeah, I will not be streaming for a few days, probably from Sunday until Wednesday. I will not be doing any streaming because I will be out of town. So there will be like a 4-day gap there of no streams. Sorry. But we'll get back into it on Thursday when I get back home. But yeah, I just hope you're all having a fabulous day. So let's see here. We're going to pop over to this screen. I do not have Beck's thumbnail. But let's go ahead and get into it because I do have a meeting in a few hours. So let me find my screen. And here we go. All right. So if you do happen to be new here, I do speed Beck up to 1.25 speed because she also speaks a little slowly for me. So I guess let's see, what do we have? Okay, the quality is 1080. All right. Speed is 1.25. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Hey guys, I'm back with another video. This will be part 2 of my Q&A with Mr. Snowflake. I want to thank Mr. Snowflake so much for putting this video together, and to everyone who asked me questions. I appreciate it so much. I did my best to give as much detail as I could in each answer, and I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get into it.
Hi everybody, and welcome to part 2 of the audience's questions for Beck. Morning.
Hey DV, good to see you. I hope you're having a good day.
After the night before, morning after Amber's taking accountability video. Be interesting to see Beck's take on that, because that was new level.
Oh yeah, I need to watch that too. I'm a little behind on Beck's videos.
Levels of patheticness. I just can't believe how terrible it was. Right. Anyway, thanks for all your questions again. This is part 2. There's enough for a part 3, because there's just so many. So I haven't asked them all here. I've had to really shorten it because there's so many good questions. So there is a part 3, but anyway, part 2 for now. Thanks for your questions, Beck. Thanks for agreeing to do this. I can't wait to see your response to that taking accountability. Right, here we go. Did Amber ever show what you think was genuine fear or concern when it came to her health and lack of mobility? Or does she just not care if she dies before 50? And did anything genuinely change after the cancer in terms of attitude or trying to get better, even if just temporarily? Good question.
I am familiar with this person that asked this question. So, did Amber ever show any genuine fear or concern? Well, she probably did during the cancer thing, but it didn't scare her enough to lose weight.
She would sometimes cry and get upset about her weight. When I'd speak to her about it, what hurt her the most was always that she felt she would never be her goal weight and that she would never look the way she wanted to look. Weight loss is hard. I know it is. But it's been so many years since she started her channel that she could have reached that goal in a healthy way, including any slip-ups along the way by now, if she had really wanted to. I think what upset her most was not looking how she wanted to. Health was not the priority at all. Her career on YouTube was much more important than her health, and she said as much multiple times. If she were to lose weight or not be a train wreck, she wouldn't have as many viewers, and that was...
At least it seemed like that's what she thought would happen. So it sounds like... So Beck is clarifying here that Amber never said this, it seems, but that this was Beck's feeling on Amberlynn with this.
Was the most important thing to her, more than any concern for herself, those around her, or anything else. Nothing changed after her diagnosis.
Oh, sorry.
You sent in a proposal, but your manager has so many questions.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this ourselves. I mean, we've seen this ourselves, and many people have said that if cancer couldn't scare Amberlynn into trying to want to lose weight to get healthier, then what will? I mean, that isn't anything new for any of us, and Beck is also speculating on Amberlynn's motives. I mean, sure, in the 10 years that Amberlynn's been on YouTube, she could have lost at least some weight and kept it off.
Did you notice that Amberlynn tends to chameleon herself to be just like the people around her, especially her partners, whether it being towards you or maybe when she was around Destiny/Dana, Jade, or her mom? One of the most fascinating things about Amber is her recording herself morphing into different Lynns. Did you notice that? I noticed it, and I don't notice anything.
I did notice that, and so did everyone around her. That was something that I'd brought up to her multiple times, and so did her friends. When we confronted her, she would say that she didn't realize that she was even doing it, and that it wasn't on purpose. I always thought it was her way of trying to fit in with the people around her. I don't think she has ever truly been confident in herself or in her own interests enough to just be herself around people. Or maybe she knew that who she really was wasn't as likable as the people she wanted to befriend, so it was easier to act like them than to be judged or scrutinized for her own personality and behavior. I think it's important to find people who like you for who you are, but I think she didn't feel like that was possible, so she had to be someone else with everyone. If she had just been herself, she could have formed real friendships a long time ago and been actually working on herself and improving all this time.
She always tries to change.
Yeah, so Amberlynn does tend to take on personality traits or whatever of people that she's in a relationship with. Like, we always see her picking up the accents and like the way people say words. She was even doing that with Tommy. She was saying words in a weird accent, trying to mimic Tommy's Wisconsin accent, Emily's Wisconsin accent. And I think all of us will do this a little bit to some extent. Like, when you're around certain people, you might act a little bit differently just because you kind of feed off each other. But Amberlynn certainly seems to, like, when she's in a relationship, half of her personality and how she acts is very similar to her partner.
Change her personality, but she always comes across as a douche. Doesn't matter which personality she picks, it's douche, 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 douche. So she needs to get better at that. Did Amber ever admit to lying about a disorder? There's so many examples of her lying about being diagnosed with stuff.
She never admitted to lying about a disorder, but I think that's because she genuinely believes that she has every single one that she says she has. She would self-diagnose constantly.
Hey, Squid Rat, hope you're having a good day.
based on how she felt and a few Google searches. She was constantly worried about every symptom she had, so she would always come up with a diagnosis on her own for each one. It's a bad habit and not a good way to find out what's really going on with you. She would go to the ER so often, but rarely or never go to a primary care physician, OBGYN, psychologist, or therapist who could have been much more helpful. And as we know,
Oh, goodness. Because those require making appointments in advance, and Amberlynn didn't want to do that. Um, she did go to the ER a lot when she was with Beck.
when she would go see those doctors, it would just be a few times before she would never go again.
Amber has accused you of not allowing her to explore her bisexuality. Did she also prevent you from expressing?
This is so weird, like, because Amberlynn has always said that, oh, she's a lesbian, but then it's like, oh, maybe I'm bi, oh, I'm a lesbian, you know? Just identify or don't identify how you want to. It doesn't affect anybody else one way or another.
Expressing your desire to be... See my little Jupiter Delight smile? It's because it's coming up in a video. Wow. She seems very upset by the implication that she would date anyone that isn't expressly she, her.
While with Amber, she would be very defensive anytime I'd try to ask her if she may be bisexual. She would say no and accuse me of trying to label her or change who she was. I'd ask about it because she would talk a lot about being with guys, the incident at the movie theater, and about other things she did. It was okay to talk about, but it felt odd to me just how often it was brought up. I think back on it now, and I do think that she might have said those things so often to get some kind of reaction out of me, maybe to see if I'd get jealous about it. I do understand being confused about your identity and wanting to explore that, but I was never really given that opportunity to support her or to allow her to explore that part of her. We didn't talk more about it because she was so adamant that she only liked women and would shut me down anytime I asked about possibly being bi. I think it did affect me in a way, especially after the breakup, and when she opened up more about it while with Jade. Jade was bisexual and poly, and Amber started to explore that more with Jade. At some point, and I've admitted this before, I think I let myself feel a little bit like if I
didn't know Jade was bi as well. Notice that Beck also said Jade's name here instead of calling her wifey or whatever. I mean, Amberlynn could just have been feeling really insecure and not wanting to have that label. No, I'm not bisexual, because in the lesbian community, a lot of lesbians will not date a woman if they're bisexual or pansexual. Just because there's that stigma of, oh, well, she's going to leave me for a man. Maybe Amberlynn was having that fear or having that stigma. I don't know.
I were to be with a bi woman, she would eventually leave me for a man. That was an awful way of thinking, and really,
yeah.
If I were to be with a bi woman, about it while with Jade. Jade was bisexual and poly.
Yeah, she just said the same thing that I was saying pretty much here.
And Amber started to explore that more with Jade. At some point, and I've admitted this before, I think I let myself feel a little bit like if I were to be with a bi woman, she would eventually leave me for a man. That was an awful way of thinking and really pushed an awful stereotype as well as erasing the experience of bi individuals. I hate that I let myself have those thoughts. And I'm so sorry to anyone who may have noticed that I felt that way and were hurt by it. It was an...
Right. We did notice that Beck felt that way, and maybe that's why Amberlynn pushed back on it, because she knew that Beck felt that way. I don't know. But a lot of women do, a lot of lesbians do have that mindset. It's starting to lessen more, but there is still a part of the community that feels that way.
An awful way to view things. I've worked really hard to no longer have that type of bias anymore. I understand now that my experiences have nothing to do with bisexual women as a whole, and my experiences should never affect my expectations of others in the future. As for my experience as a non-binary person with Amber, I did bring it up a few times in our relationship. The only response I got was always, I don't know, you seem like a woman to me. It took me saying something publicly in a video recently to get her to respect my pronouns and name. So I don't think that if I'd come out at that time, that she would have respected that decision.
What was the worst argument you and Amber got into? I'm sure it's all just molded into one horrible hue, but does anything stand out?
You're right. There was so much fighting that it has all melted together in my memory, and they were all really difficult. It's hard to pick out.
I mean, it's been so many years now, and if they argued a lot, it's going to be probably hard for Beck to try to remember, like,
just one. I think the arguments that stand out the most for me are the ones where I got so overwhelmed that I had to leave the house and get away. One time, Amber, Eric, Ricky, and I were watching Adventure Time, and Eric changed the channel without asking. Amber, even though she did not like Adventure Time, and even though it was Eric's TV, had a huge blow up. I'd had enough, and I left without grabbing my wallet, my bra, or shoes. I drove an hour.
Wallet, bra, or shoes. Oh, out there with that driver's license.
Or to my sisters and showed up at her doorstep barefoot and crying. I just wanted to escape.
What was the day of the We Have Broke Up live stream like? Great question. What was the pre-live stream, and more importantly, what was the post-live stream like? Good question. I don't think about these things. The live stream itself was so uncomfortable, with ALR just staring off into the distance and making Beck do all the talking and responding to the chat.
That was a really uncomfortable live stream.
What was the rest of the day like? Yeah.
The day of the We Broke Up live stream was really stressful. She spent the day asking me if I was sure about my decision, guilting me about how she wasn't sure what she would do without me, trying her hardest to make me feel awful. I wouldn't be there to take care of her anymore, and that's what she was most affected by. During that live stream and the following ones, it was obvious to me that she was trying to insult me and put me down to the audience. She really...
Yeah, I think that was pretty obvious. Amber was hurt, so she was trying to hurt Beck. Likewise. So, it's like, you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you back. It just, yeah, that live stream was so uncomfortable.
thought she was being clever. I knew I had to be there until I could get my things to move out.
Mars says, I'm like Beck, I once had to leave the house and go for a walk after an argument. It was good though because a dog walker came over to me and I got jumped by loads of cute dogs. That does make it better.
And with the promise of being paid monthly to help me get back on my feet, I tried to keep things amicable. I did try to clap back a few times though. For over a week, it was an emotional roller coaster going from being completely fine to begging for me to come back, then emotionally manipulating me in an effort to get me to rethink my decision, and then being angry at me. Once Jade came into the picture, all manipulation toward getting me back ended, and there were no longer any moments of being nice to me. Everything became about rubbing this new relationship in my face.
Absolutely. I mean, of course she did. I mean, we all saw that happen in real time because it was on live streams.
And making sure I knew how quickly she had moved on, and making the split up as hard for me as it could possibly be. She treated Jade much better than she'd ever treated me, and she made sure that I saw that.
Dive into delicious with a classic Wisconsin fish fry at Culver's.
I like this one. Thank you so much, Beck, for speaking out against narcissistic abusers. It helped me recognise a lot of similarities in the way one of my family members treats the rest of us. Families, man. Oh, don't get me started. And enabled me to start doing my own research on how to handle the situation. I have a question based on my own experience with that family member. Did Amber ever ridicule you or generally make you feel bad for the things you enjoy, like drawing, video games, or watching certain shows? If so, do you think she did that to make herself feel better, or as a way of exerting control over you?
I think she probably did. I mean, I'm just thinking back to when Beck was trying on that fanny pack at the store, and Amber was like, "You just need to lose a little bit of weight, babe." This seems like something that Amber would do, especially with her undiagnosed mental disorders. It's a way to make sure that the person that you're with won't leave you because you're making them feel bad, and kind of making them feel like you're the only person that can love them in a way. So I could see Amberlynn doing that.
I'm so happy that I can help empower others to speak up on similar experiences. I also really like to hear that it's helpful in recognizing this kind of behavior in others' lives. I appreciate everyone who tells their stories and who just supports or watches in general. Thank you, Zalaris4144. So, she did make mean remarks about the way I dressed and the way I decorated. Otherwise, she didn't actively put down my interest, often outside of random comments here and there. I think that's because she just showed no interest in anything I liked, was doing, or enjoyed. We were always doing separate things in the same room together.
I'm just probably watching.
Which is fine. I mean, it's fine to have separate interest and to be doing your own thing. I mean, you don't have to be up the other person's ass, which is interesting because my ex that I'm pretty sure had BPD didn't like it if I was doing something else in the room when she was doing something. She liked to watch those Real Housewives shows, and I did not. And if I was like reading a book or doing something on my computer or doing anything else, she'd be like, "Watch this with me," and I'm like, "I don't care about this." She would get angry and upset because I'm like, "I don't care about these shows. I don't want to watch this. But if you want to watch it, go ahead." "Well, I thought we could watch it together." I'm like, "But I don't want to watch this. It's fine if you want to watch it, but my ex had to we had to always be doing things together if I wasn't working, and it just so I'm a little surprised that Amber um, allowed Beck to do other things when she was in the room with them.
Watching this. Douche. Was Amber ever truly concerned about her health, like hygiene, mobility, etc., or was it all just an act? Wishing the best for you, Beck.
Amber did say that she was concerned for her mobility and that she wanted to be more mobile, but never did anything about it while with me. I think that was because her online presence was more important than improving her quality of life, just like with her health. She wasn't
I think this is kind of the same as the first question, right?
concerned about how that lack of mobility affected me either, and how much work and effort I had to put in to help her due to those things deteriorating. As for her hygiene, she really never brought up concern about it. She would douse herself in perfume sometimes to help any issues, but that's all. I won't go into detail about smells or anything too personal, but her hygiene did affect everyone around her, myself, and others' personal belongings, and she did not show concern for any of those things.
I mean, these are all Beck's experiences, right? And Amber probably didn't care or realize what she was doing and how she was living was really affecting those around her, especially Beck, with all that Beck had to do.
What do you think it will take for Amber to change? Ignore that question. Was Amber aware of feeder content, and do you know if she purposely made content for the feeder community? We love you, Beck. Now it's pretty clear she's making feeder content, but back then, did it ever come up?
Personally, I think being deplatformed would be the only way. I'm not saying I want that to happen. No matter how terrible she's treated me and the number of things she's taken from me, I would never wish the loss of a job, stability, or housing on anyone. I know how devastating that is for anyone. YouTube is how she makes a living, it's how she supports herself, and she uses losing her channel and views as an excuse not to change. The only way she would ever change is if it were her only option, so I don't see that ever happening. To answer the second question, Amber never admitted to me that she catered to feeders when deciding on her content or thumbnails. She did tell me that she would do mukbangs because they got views, and would use thumbnails showing herself eating for the same reason. Knowing how often she read through her comments and looked at anything online related to her, I can't imagine that she wasn't aware of what she was doing. It definitely felt like feeder content, but whether she made anything outside of YouTube for that purpose, or talked to anyone about feederism specifically, she never mentioned.
Does Beck?
So, I mean, by that token, everybody doing mukbang videos are making, Fifi content. Sorry, Sai, I don't mean to make you yawn too. And of course, Amber would notice just from looking at her video analytics and all these things on her channel, she would know that, hey, videos I say mukbang or I'm eating, these are going to get more views. So she'll probably do them a little more often. I think by the same token, that she would probably notice videos where she's, losing weight and getting healthier and doing all these things that are more positive for her. I think she would notice her views are also quite good for those as well. And people have a more positive attitude towards her for those videos. I don't think Amber has ever purposely made Fifi content just because she's done mukbangs. And yeah, a lot of her thumbnails have her putting, shoving food into her face because she knows those kinds of thumbnails will get people to click on the video.
Beck know anything about Amber's falling out with Crystal? Actually, that is a good question. Yeah, tried being mates like she does with all her exes, and then it stops.
From what I witnessed, Amber very frequently reached out to Crystal. When Crystal got into a relationship with Nina, Amber was not a fan of having to share Crystal's time and attention with someone else, even though she was the one to introduce them to each other. Amber talked bad about Nina a lot to Crystal in an attempt to split them up. When I told her to leave them alone, Amber made it seem like she was just parroting things I'd told her about my own experience with Nina, and doing it to defend Crystal and to defend me and what happened in my relationship with Nina. I didn't want those things to come between them. What happened with Nina and I was unrelated, and I won't talk more about that experience because it doesn't compare to how Amber treated me at all. Eventually, Crystal got fed up and cut Amber off, understandably.
Hi, Beck. When you both lived...
Yeah, I mean, if you have an ex that's interfering in your new relationship, you're probably going to want to cut that person off.
together, did she ever sit outside? How come she never goes outside, even to just sit out there? Did you get bored with being inside with her a lot of the time? I remember watching...
we did see videos with them outside. I mean, there were quite a few videos with them being outside with like Eric and Ricky or Amber sitting on the porch or whatever.
A clip from that era, and one video, well, only one video, where Amber's like, "Oh, it's nice to just sit outside." I think that was her at the heaviest. So yeah, did she ever go outside? Did you get sick of being inside all the time?
She would sometimes sit outside on the front steps, but not often at all. She usually just stayed in the bedroom and on the bed. I did get really tired of those four walls, and it really contributed to my depression. I think the reason she didn't go out more often was likely due to mobility, but also just her being content with her laptop, phone, and everything else being taken care of for her.
Want to know if pi actually works? Here's what the boomers, Gen Z, and everyone in between has to say.
So skibbity at removing ads, ad block.
Did you believe Amber's huge list of mental disorders?
Mars, these girls need to stop dating each other's ex-girlfriends.
She said she was diagnosed with. Before she met you, she said she was diagnosed with ASMR. Before she started YouTube, she did a post
The ASMR.
saying, "I've been diagnosed with ASMR." So she lies about that stuff. Did you believe everything?
No, I knew that everything she'd mentioned being diagnosed with were all self-diagnosed.
Wait, what did that say on the screen?
You believe everything.
No,
My fiance drew this one because we are watching Severance right now. Have you seen it? It's a really good show. Yeah, the doodle was cool.
I knew that everything she'd mentioned being diagnosed with were all self-diagnosed. There was never any confirmation that I knew of for anything she'd mentioned having aside from cancer.
She had said that she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when she was younger, like before she met Beck a while back. So, I mean, I don't know if Beck could know for sure about that one, if it was before her time.
What are your thoughts on Amber stealing Casey? Oh, okay, there you go, Casey. Stealing Casey's coming out story. Did Amber tell you anything similar while with you? Cheers, Beck. In case you don't know, Casey told YouTube their coming out story. Amber had the exact same, word for word, the exact same coming out stories.
And somebody else had, Beck, I think, had a similar story with like a note being found. Or was it? It was somebody else. Somebody else had a very similar story.
So bizarre. How bizarre.
I know that I asked Amber about her coming out story, but I think she kept it vague. She said that she always knew she liked women and that her dad didn't take it well. I had to go back and watch the Ankles video on Amber's coming out story to see what stories she told YouTube. I don't remember her telling me anything about a note or anything else in that video. But no, I'm really never surprised to hear about Amber lying about anything.
Oh gosh, I'm late and there are already so many questions, but here's mine. You made the cut, well done. You recently said that Amber used to be so mean to her mom, that she would make her cry. Did Amber ever make you cry in front of her? And what was Amber's response to seeing you and or her mother crying?
Oh, Amber would make her mother, would make Mama Lynn cry. But then, did Amber ever make Beck cry in front of Mama Lynn? And what was Amber's response to seeing you and or her mother cry? What a weird question. You think Amber admitted into bipolar in her teens? She could have. But I think it was before she met Beck that she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder by somebody at some point, I guess. Mars, you're about to type that out. The coming out stories? Yeah, there was somebody else. I thought it was Beck that also had, mom found the note. Yes, I think it was Beck. The mom found the note in the pocket. So this is like 3 people. Casey, Amberlynn, and Beck that all got found out being part of the LGBTQ qua community by a note being left in their pockets when laundry was being done. So did Beck steal Casey's coming out story too then? Or is it just coincidences happen?
Amber made me cry many, many times in front of her. For someone who claims to be an
I think it was Beck, Squid Rat. I'm sure Amber made Beck cry. I would not be surprised one bit.
empath, she really seemed to enjoy making people angry or...
Amberlynn is not an empath. I'll tell you that right now. Amberlynn is not an empath. She doesn't have a lot of empathy.
pushing someone to their emotional limit based on how often she would do that to me and anyone else around her. Amber's reaction was always to not acknowledge that the emotional response was due to her actions. We were always made to feel like we were exaggerating or that whatever was done to us wasn't a big deal. We just shouldn't be upset with her. She would say that she didn't.
I just got a notification. Beck's going live in 30 minutes. I will not be watching it because I'm busy.
Understand why we were upset. She could never understand why her actions and the things she said could hurt or upset others. I do think she understood, but she just did not care at all. If someone upset Amber, though, it was everyone's problem, and there was no such thing as an overreaction.
How much time?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that just throughout, and we've seen Amber Lynn do the lashing out. You know, the whole "if you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you back" kind of attitude, which I've seen with people in my real life before, and Amber Lynn would tend to do that. So any sort of slight that she would perceive as being a slight, she would lash out. She would do that with her YouTube audience too. So I could absolutely, see it being plausible that if Beck did something that Amber Lynn would see as a slight towards her, or something, that she would then lash out at Beck or make Beck feel bad about something and upset other people.
How many a day would you get to spend by yourself? Like, how often did she expect you to hang in the same room as her? Versus
living with somebody and not working, they probably spent all day, every day together.
how often you could have some alone time in another room. Did she control most of your schedule?
I would spend all my time in the same room with her outside of bathroom breaks, and any time I would leave to get food or see my family. There were a lot of times where she would keep me from seeing them all together, but a lot of those times I would go anyway and just decided to deal with the consequences when I got home. Whether I was leaving with or without her permission, there would be a time limit, and while I was gone, I would receive text messages to guilt me, saying things like, "I wish I wasn't home by myself." During the bad times, where I was heavily medicated and depressed, she did spend a lot of time in the dining room where she would do puzzles while I slept. She did control the schedule, though I would sleep when I wanted to, except for all the times she would wake me up in the middle of the night to take care of something for her. When she wanted to fix a sleeping schedule, she would have us stay awake for 24 hours, then crash at 9 p.m. the next day. Then she would stay up late again the next night, or a few nights later anyway.
Amber's sleep schedule's always been really fucked, and I mean that can make it hard on your partner too, because if you're sleeping and awake at different times, it makes it more difficult for you to either do things together or just to, oh, so and so sleeping, I need to be quiet in the house, so you can't, like, I don't know, vacuum or do dishes or do whatever. You have to be really quiet and, like, not do anything to wake that person up. So Amber Lynn has always had a fucked sleep schedule. I think it was somewhat regular whenever she was with Wifey, though, because Wifey had to get up for work. So yeah, we know that Amber wasn't a great girlfriend, and she was absolutely awful with Beck. We know this. I mean,
Making that entire day of exhaustion for nothing.
Whenever Amber would say she didn't like a meal or was done eating and showed a plate of food with some food left, would she eat it when the camera was off? She does that now.
I don't remember her ever throwing anything.
well, I mean, we don't have proof of that, Mr. Snowflake. I mean, we don't. If we don't have evidence of it, I wouldn't assert that she does that.
Half eaten away. If we were at a restaurant, I don't remember her ever throwing anything half eaten away. If we were at a restaurant, she always finished her meal. If she said that she didn't like something, she'd usually eat it anyway, then order something else later.
Once you try a comfort hoodie, you can't go back to regular hoodies. They're slightly weighted, super oversized.
Mars, I haven't pulled an all-nighter since I was 16. No way would I do that to fix my sleeping. I think that would make it worse. I did it in college. I did it one night when I worked for Samsung, because we had a release the next day, and I had to get documentation done. So we were up, like, me and, like, some of the software engineers and people, we were up the entire night in the office. And I was on a different floor. So the project manager would, like, randomly come up to my floor and, like, bring me cans of coffee. Be like, "Hey, Libby, here's some coffee." I'm like, "Thanks, Eric." all-nighters are rough because they just drain you. I mean, but it's like most of these things that Beck is telling us as far as like the relationship, these are all her experiences and her point of view. And a lot of these things were things that we've seen on camera during the lives or I've seen in videos. So
Right, here we go. In the initial days post-breakup, did Amber try and make you get back together? Didn't think about that one. Or did she ever manipulate you to try and make you feel like you should get back together? Also,
I mean, Beck's already kind of answered this, and I think we all saw that during the live streams during that time after they broke up, with Amberlynn being kind of looking off while Beck was talking over here and just treating Beck like crap during that time and trying to guilt her. We saw this during the lives until Wifey came in, and then it was all about how wonderful Wifey was to try to make Beck jealous. It was very obvious that's what Amberlynn was doing. So it's I mean during this time frame after the breakup, I mean we saw these things happening right after the breakup.
but when you announced the breakup on stream, did she ever guilt you about it off screen? Or put it off
Yeah, she's already answered this though.
or put it off for long periods of time?
The breakup live stream happened just a day or so after the breakup. I think she spent about 24 hours guilting me offline and trying to change my mind, then couldn't wait to go live and publicly make me feel guilty for my decision once it became clear to her that the guilt trip wasn't working. Even while Amber was dating Jade, she was still saying things to me like, "You should feel like crap for dumping me like that," or "I can't."
Yeah, no, I mean maybe I would have felt that way when I was younger but I'm an old woman now. And it's like, okay, we've broken up. You broke up with me for your reasons. Can't change your mind. You're sure? All right. But this was Amber would have been what, 30ish? 30? Yes, she's still very immature. And having somebody leave her and break up with her, she's going to try to make them feel bad, right?
Can't believe you dumped me like you did.
You are terrible. I mean, trying to get out of an abusive relationship. What were you thinking, Beck?
At least she wasn't broken up with over Facebook Messenger. I mean, at least Beck did it in person.
Or "I can't believe you dumped me like you did."
You are terrible. I mean, trying to get out of an abusive relationship. What were you thinking, Beck? What were you thinking? Taking accountability. Was your family sad about the breakup like Amber claimed, or were they relieved? Well, I'm assuming after the intervention, they were relieved.
My family was so happy. They were only upset that it didn't happen sooner. So yeah, I think they really all felt relieved afterwards.
Hi, Beck. Amber had so many rules and boundaries for what you could and couldn't do. Did you ever put your foot down on any occasion and tell her, "No, I'm not doing that again"?
I did put my foot down sometimes when it came to seeing my family. That was the most important thing to me, and I deal with the repercussions afterward. There were many times outside of that where I said no, but saying no would always start an argument, no matter what it was that she was asking me to do. The arguments would become so overwhelming and manipulative that I'd almost always end up giving in to her demands.
Beck, what did a typical day...
Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was reading the chat. Yes, I through text.
No would always start an argument, no matter what it was that she was asking me to do. The arguments would become so overwhelming and manipulative that I'd almost always end up giving in to her demands.
Beck, what did...
Sometimes when you're with somebody that is very controlling, sometimes you're just like, fine, whatever, just because you don't want to start an argument and you just don't want to deal with it. And it seems like the way that Amber was at this time, that would have been the situation. Yeah, Mars. Amber was so childish and snarky in the breakup live streams, but she made it worse for herself by acting up on the lives. They could have just not. Yeah, they were so awkward and just, it was uncomfortable to watch.
Did a typical day with Amberlynn look like when you both moved to the apartment? What did Amberlynn Reid normally wake up... what time did Amberlynn Reid normally wake up, and what was her routine? I'm assuming it was wake up, eat a bunch of crap, and then play Juicy all day.
Amber would almost always wake up in the afternoon between noon and 3. The minute she woke up, she was on her phone and usually looking at DoorDash, checking socials, YouTube, etc. The rest of the day always depended on what she was into at the moment, usually doing separate things while in the same room. We did play Choosy at the apartment, but Choosy was played the most often whenever we lived with Eric and Ricky. I've read a lot of comments talking about how Choosy may have been a way to isolate me and keep me busy doing something meaningless with her for long periods of time, and I think they were right. It didn't leave much time for me to walk away and talk to my friends.
So Amber did talk about Choosy and the live stream a couple of weeks ago that she did. I don't know what they could have possibly played Choosy with all day long. It seemed like more of a thing that Amber Lynn would do to, like, decide what to eat, decide what to, I don't know, watch on TV, or just to decide between various items is what it seems this Choosy game was. I think people are reading more into that little game that Amber made up when she was young than there really is to it. They're making a mountain out of a molehill really. I don't think it was anything nefarious to try to control Beck.
Beck, did you ever sleep in the guest bedroom? Why was that the only room you were allowed to decorate?
We slept in the guest bedroom every day. Amber didn't like the new mattress or bed frame that we'd bought for our decorated room. She bought it, then never spent a full night on it. As for decorating, Amber told me before we moved into the apartment that when we got our own place, she would be the one to decorate everything, and that I wouldn't have a say in any of that. When I asked why not, she said, well, Destiny never cared that I decorated. I think the only reason I was allowed to decorate the guest room was because that's where all of my belongings went anyway. I know she didn't like my style, but she never asked for my opinion or found out what kind of decorations I would like anyway. I know everyone has seen what my bedroom looked like, but I do have a much different style for living rooms and public spaces in a home.
Interesting. I mean, yeah. So again, we know that Amber is a controlling type person, and this would be a way to have her control over the household to take care of the decorating herself. And I guess if Destiny's like, I don't give a fuck, then Amber just did it. But yeah.
Beck, you've mentioned that each time you previously tried to leave, Amber would make promises to change and that things would get better. What exactly did she admit to needing to change? And what exactly did she promise would get better? That's such a good one. Did she make any authentic attempt to change as promised? If so, how long did this renewed honeymoon period typically last before she reverted back to coercive, controlling, demeaning, it's too early for me to read those words in a row, and or otherwise abusive words and behaviours? Did she tend to escalate these behaviours to further wear you down and thus discourage you from another attempt at leaving? Your sharing as much detail as is comfortable may help many others recognise a similar pattern in their or not abusive relationships.
With Crystal, there's a video of Crystal playing it with a billion earrings. Her attitude in it is kind of weird. I haven't seen that video, obviously. You'd have to tell me how her attitude was kind of weird. I think it would be more that, I don't know, Amber Lynn enjoyed it and didn't notice if other people were just like, oh my god. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird little thing for people to fixate on.
I'm getting a lot of messages saying that Beck's helping them. Yeah, what was she promising to change? It'll get better, I'll change. Change what exactly?
The promises to change would always depend on what my reason for wanting to leave was about at the time. There were a lot of times that Amber promised me she would get therapy in order to change her behavior. She never continued going after the first few appointments, so no progress was ever really made. She promised that she would do better on her diets, that she would help to clean more, that she would be less strict. Her attempts to change were never really authentic. After each promise, she'd try for a few days, she'd be nicer and demand me do less for her, but then gradually go right back to her old ways. The less mobile she became, the more mean and controlling she would be. She became more confident in the way she treated me and in her belief that I would never leave. It continued to escalate until the end of the relationship. She also knew that the less independent she was, the more she needed me, the more bad I would feel for her, and the less likely I would be to leave.
Hi, Beck and Snow.
So, yeah, it's... Sorry, I was reading the next question already on the screen. When you threaten to break up with somebody for a specific reason, they're going to try to promise to change, to fix whatever that behavior was to try to get you to stay, and then they'll be good about whatever it was or be better about it for a couple of days, and then, or a couple of weeks maybe, and then revert right back to it. Same thing with the therapy. If Amber Lynn didn't actually see any of the things that Beck was bringing up as a problem or an issue, then of course she's not going to think she needs to make any permanent changes, and she's not going to want to correct any behaviors for herself. It's all performative for the person that you're with to be like, okay, let me be better for a week, and then they'll think that I'm making this change. But since and the person making the change, in this case Amber, could possibly be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this, but then without really understanding why they need to or what the issue really is. So it's not going to stick because they're not doing it because they feel they need to. They're doing it because this other person feels they need to. So unless Amber felt that she actually needed to work on this change herself, she's not going to actually make any real change.
Snowflake? That's Mr. Snowflake to you. Oh, you said Mr. Snowflake, right. Do you think Twinkie and Wasabi... Snowflake?
What a dick. Sorry.
Needed me, the more bad I would feel for her and the less likely I would be to leave.
Hi, Beck and Snowflake? That's Mr. Snowflake to you. Oh, you said Mr. Snowflake, right. Do you think Twinkie and Wasabi are being cared for properly by Amber since she has no one to help her? Well...
Squid Rat, it was almost like she was giddy over someone admiring her hoard, but because the admiration was contrived, it feels very off.
Rarity just went missing under Amber's watch. The state of Twinkie nails are back to being long. Amber's trying to prove she's looking after the pets. Oh, look at me brushing Wasabi. Can you look at Wasabi when you're doing it instead of eye banging the camera?
Want to know how to turn your viewers into shoppers? It's simple. It's Shopify. My viewers are my customers, so starting a store on Shopify.
From my experience, she does not properly take care of her animals when living alone. I haven't seen Amber or Twinkie and Wasabi in years, so there's no way for me to know for sure if she truly takes them to see the vet regularly, grooms them, or cleans the litter boxes enough. After hearing about Rarity, it does worry me. I can't say for sure.
I wonder if you...
Yeah, I mean, Beck's not going to know what Amberlynn's doing these days. I mean, all we have to go on is what Amberlynn has said. I mean, Twinkie does look like she's gained a little bit more weight. I mean, Wasabi's a long-haired cat. You can brush a long-haired cat, and 2 minutes later, they look like you've never even touched them with a brush. I haven't really seen Twinkie's claws, toes, whatever. They just went to the vet a couple of weeks ago for their yearly, shots, checkups, whatever. Don't know if she got them chipped. I hope she did. Because she used to always take Twinkie in to get Twinkie's nails trimmed when she was with Wifey. We would see them taking Twinkie in every couple of weeks to get the nails trimmed. So, but I don't know if Amber, I mean, granted, we don't see everything that Amberlynn does every single day. I mean, we're not going to see her scooping the litter box every day. We're not going to see every little thing that she does.
You could give us more insight into your family's intervention when they started seeing red flags and when they started to warn you about the relationship.
In my experience with these kinds of relationships, they aren't going to expose their behavior in front of other people. So it would be very surprising if Beck's family did really notice these things.
My family saw red flags from the beginning. My mom, my sisters, and their then husbands all quickly had arguments with Amber. My family is not perfect, and some of them have very, very different opinions from mine, and not all of them support me. But my sisters and my mom did, and were nice to Amber. Amber would go out of her way to stir the pot and start arguments with them. My family pointed out that Amber was controlling, that I was seeing them so much less, and voiced their concerns about my well-being while caring for her to the extent that I did. The day of the intervention, my family asked to meet me at a park, and I had no idea why. This all happened during the bad times, so I don't remember everything that was said. My mom...
The bad times. it is interesting that the family had an intervention to try to get Beck to leave Amber. Um, and it could have just been they just didn't like Amber's ideas. But I mean, if they were noticing red flags in the relationship and how Amberlynn treated people and others, and if she was being argumentative with them, of course they aren't going to like Amber very much, probably. Mara says that's probably why she hardly shows the animal, so there's less comments or nail trims or lumps. I don't know, Mars. I mean, she didn't show the animals a lot to begin with, really, anyway. I mean, Wasabi's usually off sleeping somewhere. We see Twinkie chilling in the background.
Mom was the one who planned it. She talked to my sisters and said that she wanted to meet up with me away from the rest of the family and talk about her concerns. My mom and sisters all met me at the park and sat down with me. Mom felt like I was being held hostage by Amber and being kept from seeing the family. She saw the state my mental health was in because she had never seen it become so bad before. Because of that, she was really concerned for my safety and just wanted me to leave her in the situation I was in.
Crazy.
I mean, we all saw Beck hitting some rough patches. I mean, especially when she was having the kidney issues. I mean, she was in a really rough spot.
Can you tell when Hamlet when Hamlet is fake crying? I can. If so, what is her biggest tell? Love to see you thriving in a relationship with a beautiful woman. Your iceberg videos have been so fun. It'll be interesting when you, Beck, when you get all the Amber stuff out and then it's just passion project after passion project. Yeah. Anyway, can you tell when Amber is fake crying?
When Amber actually cries, there are real tears. She sobs, her shoulders shake, and her voice squeaks. I don't think I've ever seen her genuinely cry on camera. In her last response to Beck video, her eyes are dry, and she changed her voice a little to sound emotional, but you can tell it's not real. She did that a lot while filming, then would stop the video and turn around like nothing had happened. Also, thank you. I can't wait to do more videos showing my interests in things I love.
What is Ella really diagnosed with? Yeah.
So again, this is going to be when she was with Beck. I mean, Beck isn't going to know anything after they've broken up. I don't know why people are asking these questions where there's a lot of things that Beck just isn't going to know because they've been broken up for nearly 5 years.
Anything?
I guess nearly 4 years, I guess.
Or would she just come back and go, I got diagnosed with all this? I don't know why she's obsessed with being diagnosed with stuff.
Because the way Amberlynn operates is, from what I've noticed, if she's been diagnosed with something, she can use that as an excuse. Binge eating disorder. Oh, I've gained weight. I've done all this because of the binge eating disorder. Having a diagnosis of something takes her actions out of the equation and puts it onto this diagnosis, like the BPD, when she said in my live stream a couple of months ago or a month and a half ago, whatever, that yes, BPD can be an excuse. No, it can't. But Amberlynn uses these things as an excuse so that she doesn't have to look at her own behaviors and, oh, it's not me, it's this diagnosis that's making me do this. And that's my opinion of why she does that.
While with me, the only thing she was ever diagnosed with besides cancer was bipolar disorder. Eric, Amber, and I all visited the same doctor who diagnosed all three of us with bipolar disorder. And
You all have bipolar disorder.
prescribed us all the same medication based on a questionnaire the doctor had given us. The doctor eventually took me off that medicine and said my diagnosis may have been incorrect due to my reaction to the medicine. Amber stopped taking it and seeing the doctor altogether. I continued seeing that doctor for years. I don't know about any other official diagnosis she's ever received, and there were no more given while with me.
Right, I mean, all Beck is going to know is when Amber was with her. I mean, I don't. Now, granted, if Amberlynn does not have bipolar disorder, which sometimes from what I've read, borderline personality disorder can be misdiagnosed as bipolar disorder. But just taking yourself off of medications without talking to your medical professionals isn't really the best thing. But Amberlynn would do this a lot. She would be on medication and then stop it, because you think she's better, you're not. And then she would start taking it again, and it would just be these cycles.
Oh yeah, because she's nuts. Was there ever a moment to where you were in so much fear from Amber Lynn that you wanted to call for
Was Beck ever in fear from Amber Lynn?
help via police, family, etc.? That's a sad one. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I ever felt the need to call the police. I didn't feel physically threatened by Amber, but I did sometimes feel like calling for my family, either wanting to just talk to them or needing to run to them to be by their side for emotional support.
Did ALR put times on more things than what you've already told us? How many other things did she do that with?
She would put timers on cleaning, but I kind of found that helpful sometimes.
She does that even now for herself, using the Pomodoro method.
Sit in one spot and clean the areas that she could reach from her seat while I cleaned everywhere else. If I watched a movie in the living room with friends or did anything outside of the room she was in and she didn't plan on joining, she'd always ask how long the movie was or what I'd be doing and for how long. I don't know if she'd set a timer in those instances, but I would get a text right around the time I estimated asking if I was done and when I'd be coming back. She'd set a timer for lint picking, back brushing, and massages, and any activities we did together. She'd set a 10-minute timer while we watched a movie. When that timer would go off, she'd spend 15 minutes on her computer, then she'd either go back to the movie for 10 more minutes or pick another activity and go back to the movie after. Sometimes it was reading, journaling, or choosing. If I was in the bathroom, there would be no timer, but she would text, call, or yell
Timing someone's bathroom breaks.
to tell me I'm taking too long.
Beck, do you know anything of the Rain and Petals? Oh, we just talked about that. Pain and Metals. So, the Rain and Petals eavesdrop story, or the accusations of SA Amber has made towards people. Did she ever come clean, confide, or discredit her own stories? I don't know how much you've seen. You probably haven't seen all of that stuff, actually. The SA stuff, claiming that she's been SA'd by so many people. So many different people, and the story's changed. And the reason why she's told the stories has changed. I'll send you all the clips if you want more.
I think the only one that I can recall is the Casey situation. I can't think of the other ones.
More clarification, but so many examples of it just flat out lying about being SA'd.
The Rain and Petals eavesdrop is so ridiculous.
See, like the way she addressed... Why'd I say that weird? Like the way she addressed the whole situation was ridiculous.
The only instance that she told me about was with Casey. She never admitted to me that what she said was a lie and never mentioned any of the other instances that I
No, of course she wouldn't.
heard mentioned in your Mr. Snowflake's videos. She would bring up throughout the relationship that she didn't understand why viewers invalidated her experience, and she would tell stories about things Casey had supposedly done to her. I believe now that Casey is another victim of Amber, and I understand why there's so much doubt about everything Amber says.
Grammarly is an AI writing partner that works seamlessly with your everyday apps and helps professionals write better and
My
faster.
mouse keeps going to sleep. Mars says that sounds like the schedule of a child, like an iPad baby. Sounds like the schedule of somebody with really bad ADD that can't focus.
What shows did Amber Lynn say she was going to be on? Oh yeah, I was always talking about some shows contacted her, the shows contacted her. What shows did...
Well, I think she just said that TLC contacted her. They may have wanted to do a brand new show.
Amber Lynn say she was going to be on?
By the way, Becca's live with a Game and React with Me live if you want to go watch Beck.
There was a show called Too Large that contacted her and wanted...
Oh, I heard of that one. So I don't blame your mouse. My mouse going to sleep. I know.
Her to be on the show, but they wanted her to move to Atlanta and to follow a strict diet. She told me that she rejected the show because she didn't want to move and was afraid that she wouldn't be able to post YouTube videos while on the show. I also vaguely remember her getting an email about being on My 600 Pound Life, but that could have been totally fake. We weren't sure.
I remember that show Too Large. I've heard somebody mention that show before. I've never seen it. Yeah, whenever I mean, they would have paid her to be on the show, right? But yeah, she wouldn't have been able to post anything, I don't think, while she was there.
Was Amber secretive with her phone during your relationship? Infamously cheated on...
I'm so sorry that I keep yawning. I am drinking a cold brew. Do you think it's because she doesn't actually have anything to focus on? I'm sorry, do I think what is because she doesn't have anything to focus on? Setting timers for things? I think Amberlynn does have ADD. I don't know if it's full like ADHD, but I think Amberlynn does have ADD. Um, being able to get tested for that sometimes is like 6 or 8 weeks out. But she does exhibit a lot of symptoms of ADD. Not everything, of course, because everybody presents, has different issues with it. But so I think being able to set the timers for like cleaning and things is a way to just focus for those like 15 minutes and then take a break for a few minutes and then focus again. But Amberlyn does do that hyperfixation thing that is quite common with ADD.
On Emily with Erica, and we're still talking to Abby while with Emily.
When we first started dating, she mentioned that she received a lot of nudes from people on Snapchat. I told
What? She received nudes from people on Snapchat? I said this last week, I think. I don't understand how Snapchat works. Do you send people pictures and then they disappear? Is that how Snapchat works? You send somebody a picture and then they, like, after they look at it, it's gone? Mars says, I think Amber has just fried her brain. True brain rot from the internet. I don't know. So we have to also remember that I believe Amberlyn, her Mama Lynn did do illegal substances when she was pregnant with Amberlyn. And I think that may have some part to play in some of Amberlyn's issues as well. Do you think it's really that her ADD is that bad, or do you think just because she doesn't really have anything big to focus on? I have ADHD, as we know. I don't know. Sometimes I think I need to get tested for ADD because I have a hard time focusing here at home. But I don't know. I think she does have ADD probably, and some medication could help with that. Vyvanse could possibly be a good one. And if she did really have binge eating disorder, which who knows, Vyvanse can also help with that. I think possibly, not having anything really to focus on. Amber doesn't have a routine really, unless she were to set a routine herself each day for like, okay, I'm going to get up at 8 a.m. or 6 a.m., whatever. We're going to feed the animals, take Twinkie for a walk outside, come back in, film or something or edit, play Mario Kart or what, Mario Party. Sorry, play Mario Party for an hour. I think not having a set routine and not having like a regular job that you have to like do and focus on could possibly play a part in that, Lindsay. But yeah.
I told her that it made me kind of uncomfortable, and
And we're still talking to Abby while with Emily.
When we first started dating, she mentioned that she received a lot of nudes from people on Snapchat. I told her that it made me kind of uncomfortable, and she told me that she changed the settings or something so that it would.
Yeah, that would make me a little uncomfortable too if I was dating someone and they're like, oh yeah, people are sending me nudes on Snapchat. Excuse me? Why are people sending you nudes on Snapchat? Yeah, you can't control what other people do, of course, but that's a little weird. It could have been Amber just trying to make Beck jealous. Who knows?
Wouldn't keep happening. But I never looked to see if that were true. Amber was really secretive with her phone. She would take mine and go through it all the time, but told me that she didn't want me looking through her phone because she had private journals and insisted she needed her privacy.
Right.
But Beck couldn't have their privacy. My ex was the same way. We had like a 30-minute fight because I would not give her the passcode to my work cell phone. You could be messaging somebody on there. I'm like, it's my work phone. They have access to everything that comes into this phone. I'm like, you don't need to see my work phone. and it was a huge issue. Of course, I did find her phone where she was texting somebody behind my back. So yeah, this is very common for people that have BPD or people that have been cheated on or do cheat themselves because they project. Now, I don't think Amberlynn ever cheated on Beck or Destiny or anybody, but that's projection.
So that's the audience's one. There's loads. There's more. I could do an endless series on this, but there's enough for another part. But I've done a few as well because there's a few I want to know, and with victims that'll tie.
My work phone, yeah, it's a bit much. Yeah. I think that was the same day that she spent 30 minutes yelling at me because I didn't pull out of a parking spot the way that she thought I should have. Oh God, why? Fuck.
I up a few things. Anyway, what's this one? Reaction channels. Which reaction channels did she hate the most?
Ooh. When she was with Beck, she really didn't like Karina Kaboom, and she didn't like Young Dumb Honey Bun. I need to get that little sound clip of "I'm a dumb bitch." I'm a dumb bitch. I need to get my soundboard set up. I still haven't done that. My Stream Deck. I have the Stream Deck that I still haven't opened and set up yet. I need to get my Stream Deck set up. Where am I going to put this now?
I wasn't around then, so sadly it won't be me. It's the ankle now. How often did she talk about them? Did it annoy
I don't know. It might be Jordy now.
you how obsessed she was
It could be Snowflake.
with them? Did she ever cry over reaction channels? She's admitted.
Let's see. I mean, she does still watch reaction channels because she wants to see what people are saying about her, even though she says that she doesn't watch reaction channels. We all know that she does. We just don't know who all she's watching.
To cry, ask if I'm posts and Instagrams. Was she genuinely obsessed? Would she talk about them all the time? Would she cry over Geordie? I hope it's a yes.
Karina Kaboom, Willow Davis, CXNT, Charlie Gold, Kicking Geese, and Apathetic Facts. She talked about the channels daily and watched every video that came out about her.
I think at the time, Apathetic Facts was just compilations when Amber was with Beck. Kicking Geese. I thought she liked Justine. Oh, these may be just the ones that she watched. She watched Zachary Michael then too, and Alex is Shook too.
She loved to say that none of them would have a channel or be making any money without her. She'd proudly tell me about her flagging videos of theirs. It was annoying to me that she was so obsessed because it was such an unhealthy obsession. She would sometimes cry about the things the channels would say, calling them bullies, and saying it was due to fat shaming.
Yeah, it is unhealthy for her to be doing. It is unhealthy for her to be consuming so much content about herself. It really is. But I mean, she's going to keep doing it, and she could be doing it because there are a lot of people saying some really just gross and weird things. Some channels, but I mean, it's I don't know. It's just weird to consume so much content about yourself.
Comments. How long would you be checking comments on her videos, and did that ever annoy you? How often she would talk about them? Look what this person said. Look what. How long would she?
But I will say at the time though, Beck backed Amber up during all this because they were in a relationship. So if Amber would say something about a reaction channel, Amber or Beck would be like, yeah, and would be right there behind her.
She'd be checking, but would she just check? Because every now and again she'll go.
Part of me is wondering how much of this is rewriting history. If that makes sense.
Reading comments, but she is.
She would spend an hour at a time scrolling through her YouTube comments on and off daily. She would also cry about her YouTube comments and talk about how detrimental it was to her mental health, but would go out.
Then stop reading them.
Out of her way to read them, along with posts on Reddit, Kiwi Farms, and Facebook.
Hygiene. All right. Hygiene. Well, yeah, I think you've been respectful about Amber's lack of hygiene. However, I mean, I wouldn't be. Especially not after her accountability video. I'm sorry you thought you were abused. You man. However, I think it's a valid thing to discuss because it must have affected you. It must have had a negative effect on you. Being around somebody who refuses to clean properly. That would have done my mental in. That wouldn't have been good for me. Was it something you tried to talk to Amber about? And would she get defensive if you did bring it up, or did you not bring it up but wanted to? Did she get defensive if you or anybody brought it up? I mean, you don't have to say how much she stunk or stank, but would she ever get defensive if you brought it up? The lack of hygiene, and it is part of the abuse. That is awful to have to put up with that. So I know Amber, even though you didn't even mention the hygiene stuff before, Amber wasn't happy that you were talking about the hygiene stuff, even though you didn't.
I would talk to Amber about her hygiene. I tried to convince her to cut her hair to make maintenance easier on both of us, and she refused. I told her to stop wearing the chokers when the dark spots appeared behind her neck, and she told me it wasn't a big deal and that it was fine. I'm not going to go into detail about the smell, but it was brought up to me a lot by everyone around me, and I did have to talk to her about it. Her reaction was usually to blame her depression and how she struggled to clean by herself. Eventually, I stopped asking her to help herself because it wasn't going to happen. It did get a little better when we moved into the apartment with a large walk-in shower, but I did still stand in the bathroom and help until the day we broke up.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to be in a relationship with somebody that requires your help for these sorts of things, and to try to address those issues in a respectful way when you're in that relationship. So, I mean, again, some of these are things that we just don't need to know about. I mean, hey, Heather. Is she on 3 times speed? No, I only have her on 1.25.
I see a lot of abuse when it comes to you and Amber. People often mention financial abuse, which is not something I immediately think of when I think of abuse, but it's still a form of abuse. I always think of physical or emotional, but then I see people talking about financial. I'm like, oh yeah, of course, that's one as well. That's a big one as well. Can you think of any big examples of Amber abusing you financially?
I think the biggest thing with that would be having control of the finances. Beck not having an income of their own, really, kind of being an employee of Amber, but their finances.
Amber cost.
They had a shared checking account, right? So Beck didn't have a separate account that Amber could be like, let me pay you X amount of dollars for this video, or pay you X amount. They had a shared checking account, which I would advise anybody when you get into a relationship, keep your finances separate if you're able to. I mean, if you're not working and you're using your partner's finances, I mean, it's a little bit different. But if you're both working, keep your finances separate, and maybe if you do have a shared account, still have your separate accounts, but have a shared account that you pay shared bills from, like your mortgage or rent or internet, whatever, that you both contribute to. But convincing, maybe not convincing, but getting Beck to basically quit their job, which Beck didn't seem to have an issue with in the beginning because it was hard on their body. But Amberlyn doing that was a way to have control over Beck at the beginning of the relationship. If Amberlyn was the breadwinner and was the only one bringing in income, then it makes it that much more difficult for Beck to leave the relationship.
Constantly held over my head that she was the only one with an income. During almost every argument, she would tell me how she pays all the bills and buys all the food, as if that gave her a right to control me, and as if I contributed nothing to her life. I would tell her each time that if she felt that way, I'd gladly go back to working. She'd quickly say, no, I don't want you to do that. And she didn't. She couldn't handle being apart from me for any extended period of time. She needed a caretaker, and that was already my full-time job, and a thankless one. Despite that, and doing what I could to contribute by also being in the vlogs, when she knew full well that I didn't want to be, in order to earn the home I was living in her mind, she would also be sure to take away any money I'd get from other sources. I mentioned this before, but even...
Take away money that Beck got? What other sources?
being seen collecting change would trigger her to question whether I was saving up to leave her. When my mother passed away, me and my siblings received a portion of a settlement from my dad's job that ended up being around $5,000 to $6,000 for each of us. I was not allowed to keep it. She told me that the money had to go into paying the bills and my half of the rent. My mom had plans for when she would have received that money before she passed away. Getting it was bittersweet, and I would have liked
So
to use it in some way to honor her. She wouldn't have wanted Amber to have it, and it really hurt, but she took it anyway.
So the money would have been, since they had a shared account, the money would have been deposited into their shared account. Now, I don't know if Amberlyn said these things, that it has to be used to pay bills or whatever. I mean, Beck could have gotten a separate account to put that money into, and could have just been like, no, Amber, this is money from my mom passing away or my stepdad or whatever. This is mine to use in whatever way that I desire, and I'm not going to use this to pay bills. But I don't know.
I told her that I would like to do something with the money. She dismissed it and treated me like I owed it to her, and it wasn't my choice. She said that I couldn't have it because she dismissed her to have it, and it really hurt, but she took it anyway. When I told her that I would like to do something with the money, she dismissed it and treated me like I owed it to her, and it wasn't my choice. She said that I couldn't have it because the bills needed to be paid, even though I knew that she was...
But Amberlyn was making enough to pay the bills. So, let's see. Stitch and Stream says, should have kept their own account. Could have asked ALR for money to deposit. Would have prevented the financial dependence. Right, but would Amber have given that money? Now, with the shared checking account, they should both have had debit cards or bank cards with their own names on them. And Beck could have taken the money out of that account and put it into the other account. But then Amber would have noticed a large chunk of money missing from that account. Or she could have opened an account and had that money deposited into a separate account. It gets messy when you have a shared checking account and one person is bringing in the income, and then you have the other one getting a chunk of money from something else. The person that is bringing in the income could think, well, hey, now you can contribute to the household a little bit. Now, would Amber have been having that kind of a thought, or would it have been more of a, now Beck has money to possibly leave me? Could that have been the mindset? I don't know. Stitch says Beck could have said no. Beck could have said no, but I don't think Beck had the confidence to say no. DV says if you have a shared account, then have a secret when it hits the fan account. Heather Stitch and Stream says doesn't even need to be secret. A healthy relationship wouldn't care, right? Beck lacked boundaries and self-esteem to say no, and now she's mad. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really weird situation to have one person basically being the breadwinner and then somebody bringing in a chunk of money from something else. But we don't know what was said 100%. We don't know how it was handled. What we do know is they had a shared checking account, and Beck had access to that checking account. So Beck could have opened a separate account and moved that money into a separate account and said, no, Amber, I'm moving this money from my mom into a separate account that only I have access to. Now, would Amber have allowed that? Beck has the car, drive to the bank and open the checking account. What's Amber going to do? Chase you? I mean,
was making enough from YouTube to cover bills and rent with no problem.
Yeah, Thanks for doing this, Beck. Not a super long one. Actually, I don't think it was. Oh, no, it wasn't. Like I said, there's another part there if you want to do it, but there's no rush because this must be a bit draining. But I'm hoping it's good for you. Like I've said before, it was good for Casey. I was really sad about the Casey interview, but he said, no, it was good. It's good to get this out. I suppose you do after a while, don't you? You suffer all this abuse, and then after however long, you think, right, I'm ready to share my story. And like I say, I've had plenty of messages from people saying because Beck is doing this, I feel a bit more confident to speak up. I think we had one there, didn't we? I feel a bit more confident to speak up about my situation. Right, anyway, thanks for doing this, Beck. I hope you're doing all right. Right, cheers, everybody.
Those were all
It sounds like we're going to have a part 3 from Mr. Snowflake soon.
really good questions, and I hope I was able to give you guys some interesting answers. I want to thank everyone once again for watching this video, and to Mr. Snowflake for putting it all together, and of course everyone who asked me questions. This is the second Q&A we've done, and I'll link the first one in the description below. Maybe if you guys like this one too, we could do more of these in the future. I'm so grateful for being able to tell my story and for everyone willing to give it a listen. I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye.
See, Heather Stitch and Stream says, I don't say that to be mean. I got $70K from an accident and put it in a shared account. My ex blew through it. Do I regret that? Yes. Was it my decision at the end of the day? Yes. Beck should take accountability for the part they played in this. Yeah. DV says, most people that have had to leave the relationship thought it was healthy at one point. If it's not secret, they'll take it. Sai says, I'm so sorry. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Heather. That's awful. Live and learn nothing of the world. Part any is. Yeah. So here's the thing. So with these Q&As, we're hearing Beck's side of things and how Beck viewed things. Now, we've also heard Amber say in her video that Beck has lied about some things. We don't know what Beck has lied about. The thing is, when it comes to Amber and Beck, oh, I totally ended the video there before she started showing. Do you guys want to see the fan art? I'm sorry. They're going really quickly because I have this sped up. Okay. Cute little artwork. So, as I was saying, just by default, people are going to believe everything that Beck says. And by default, they're going to not believe anything that Amber Lynn says. So there's already a bias to believe anything that Beck talks about. And already a bias to disbelieve Amber Lynn on anything. So if Amber Lynn were to say Beck is lying about X, Y, and Z, unless Amber Lynn has receipts for any of these things to prove Beck is lying about this, and here is a text message, here's a screenshot, here's whatever, to prove that I'm telling you the truth on this and that Beck is lying about it just to make me look bad. Or maybe Beck doesn't remember it completely correctly. Looking back on the relationship, Beck probably has a much different view now than they did during the relationship. Because during the relationship, a lot of people could not stand Beck whatsoever because the way Beck acted and behaved during that relationship with Amber Lynn. Now, some could say that Beck was just following Amber Lynn's lead. But a lot of people still don't care for Beck a whole lot. But now they love Beck because Beck left Amber Lynn and is spilling some tea about Amber. So it's just by default. I mean, I try to believe people until I have a reason not to. At the moment, I don't have any reason to not believe what Beck is saying or take what Beck is saying at face value, at least for that is how Beck is seeing these things upon looking back on them. Beck may have seen things differently at the time. So, but what we're seeing now is Beck looking back on this relationship, and Beck could be misremembering some things. Beck did have a lot of, I guess, a lot of trauma during the relationship, as far as like being on the medication, being drugged out of her mind for like their mind for like a year, their mom passing away. So Beck is looking at things through a different lens now, and is seeing things a little differently, and might be projecting some things based on what she's heard reaction channels say. So I don't know. We'll see if Amber Lynn says anything about this. During the live stream on Tuesday, people were asking about the inheritance thing, and Amber Lynn refused to answer anything regarding Beck. Just saying, look, I don't want to talk about my ex. I've established that boundary. And she said something along the lines of, you all don't want me to talk about Beck, so I don't. But now you're all getting mad at me for not wanting to speak about Beck. Which is true. People are like, oh, why are you talking about Beck? Don't talk about Beck. And then now they're like, oh, what about this? And she's like, look, you guys told me to not talk about Beck, so I'm not. But now you want me to talk about these specific situations. So, but with Amber Lynn and Beck and the checking account, as far as that money going into the checking account, Beck should have had access to it. They should have both had their own debit cards for that checking account. So it's not like Beck would have been locked out of the account completely. They could have taken that money out of the account. So I don't know. I mean, just a weird thing. Weird situation. And, Stitch says, agreed. I think she does project from reaction channels, TBH. She wants them to like her. She has all these people like, yes, girl, pop off. Yeah, they just want tea. I mean, looking back, Beck is probably seeing things a little differently than they were during the relationship. And, these are Beck's thoughts and feelings, and that's all perfectly valid. But if they are misrepresenting situations or how things went down, then that could be a problem. But people are going to believe Beck unless Amber comes out with, like, concrete proof of something that Beck has misrepresented or just flat out lied about. And that's just the nature of the community at this point, really. So, I mean, I could just knowing what we know about Amber, we can see her doing some of these things that Beck has mentioned. But again, we're only hearing one side of the story here, and that's Beck's. I'm sure Amber would have a different view of every single thing that Beck has talked about, because they're two different people coming at it from two different angles and two different experiences. So, but yeah, that is how Beck feels about things. Let's watch, let's really quick watch Lex's video, because I just want to get that out of the way, because I really just don't care what Lex has to say. But we're gonna watch this one really quick, and then I have to get off here because I have a meeting in an hour and a half. So this video from Lex is titled "Exposing." Oh, there's a like an alarm, like a siren, exposing Amber Lynn's sneaky link with receipts. She never has fucking receipts. Are we gonna believe she has receipts now? And reacting to Beck's Q&As. So here's other people in Amber Lynn's life are speaking about things they don't know. What would Alexis know about her relationship with Beck? Just like, what would Beck know about Amber Lynn's relationship with Emily or Erica or anybody? So people, oh, what do you think of... Beck probably isn't going to have an opinion on any of that shit. I know, Heather, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're going to get through this as quickly as we can, because I do have things to do before work. I'm sorry, Sagan. Perfect timing. Alright, we are also going to speed Lex up. Oh my god, why do they all have fucking Kermits? Why are they all channeling Karina Kaboom? For fuck's sake. I find the Kermit to be annoying.
Hello, hello, hello. I know I've been really quiet for the...
Oh, well, we got a hello, hello, hello. Instead of a well, well, well. I want her cringe villain cackle. She's a female Joker at this point, and that isn't a compliment. How is her volume? Is her volume okay for you all?
Hello, hello, hello. I know I've been really quiet for the last couple weeks, but...
She's a new queen of girl world. She's fucking annoying is what she is.
Just know, I have still been in the loop. And since I recently got my monetization back, I figured now would...
Oh good, she has monetization back. Now she can make money off of all her stupid speculations and bullshit.
Be a good time for me to speak out on a couple of things. In this video, I'd like to talk about certain situations that have happened in the last couple of weeks with Amber, but I more specifically want to focus on Beck.
I could turn it down 100%.
And their videos and their Q&As and certain responses.
I really don't care what Alexis's point of view is on Beck's videos. I really don't. But we're gonna... If I have to suffer, then I'm sorry, but I am making you suffer with me.
That they've had. So I'm hoping I can, if nothing else, provide an interesting perspective from my point of view.
No, I don't think you can.
On a couple of situations that have happened in the last couple of weeks in the Amberverse. So let's get into it.
Am I shocked that Amber would want to date a feeder? No, I'm not. And her being with someone who is okay with the weight she's at, or really okay with her gaining more weight, would be the easiest type of relationship for her to be in.
I 100% agree, because when she was with Valentine, or Erica, she immediately hopped on Ozempic again. She immediately got a prescription for that, or...
Went to the med spa.
Wherever she got it from, I think a med spa. And when we get a little bit further into this video, I'm going to pull clips from Amber Lynn's videos where she talks about getting on semaglutide once again. But I'm going to be sharing a little aspect of this whole semaglutide thing that nobody has talked about and nobody has mentioned. Because I think that I might be the only one who actually knows besides her and probably her mom. But anyways, so when she was with Valentine / Erica, I mean, we all know that Erica was really obsessed with like her fitness and being in the gym. So Amber Lynn saw her as like a savior, like, oh, this girl's obsessed with her fitness. She's going to get me on track. I'm going to get on track. I'm going to get my weight down. Like, this is going to be it for me. So I think that's why she clung onto Erica so hard, even though...
I wish this were an alcoholic beverage to get through Alexis's video.
She was in a marriage already. And after that relationship ended, I think that she was just willing to settle for whatever. And she doesn't want to work towards anything now. Not that she did before, but it is a lot easier for her to be with someone that allows her to eat whatever she wants to.
I don't really...
Of course it is. If you're with somebody that is fine... I mean, granted, being with somebody that is fine with you as the way you are is good. Especially if you feel like you are at your worst. Having somebody that still wants to be with you and love you at your worst would be a good thing. But they would also hopefully support you as you're trying to get better or be better or lose weight. Then that would be even better. So I don't think getting... Like, if I were to start dating somebody that's fine with me being the size that I am, that would be fabulous. But they would hopefully be fine with me wanting to be healthier and lose weight and also support me in that endeavor. So I don't know why that would be a bad thing for Amber, getting with somebody that would be supportive of them being healthier, but not being like, well, I really think you need to lose a lot of weight, and like forcing things onto them. Now, if Amberlynn were to be like, hey, I want you to help me with this and help me keep me accountable on my eating, then kind of like I want to see what Wifey did. Like, Wifey would prepare healthier meals for Amberlynn and was supportive of Amberlynn, but didn't push her. So, I don't know. Buzzball. I know, Scythe. I should go buy one of those really big ones. Who wants to be with a partner who polices them? Literally nobody. Right. I mean, it's... I don't get it.
Really have anything to say about Emily. I don't know her, but I will say that I don't see how you can care for a person while participating in feederism with no concern for their health.
From what I've read about it, I mean, you can. It doesn't always involve the person gaining a huge amount of weight. Sometimes it's just the act of eating is a turn on for them. For some of them, it is the act of watching somebody gain weight. But again, it takes two people to do that kind of behavior in relationship. Ethically, it takes two people to be consenting in this. And Amberlynn was not a consenting partner in that sort of a relationship, from what we understand. Even if Emily was interested in that type of relationship and behavior, she wasn't pushing it onto Amberlynn.
And this is exactly the reason why I told Amberlynn that I cannot be friends with her anymore when she started dating Emily. Like, yes, Emily seemed...
I think there was more to it. I think Alexis was jealous. I think Alexis wanted Amberlynn to go out with her, and when she chose Emily, then she did not like it. Now, again, that is just my opinion.
Nice enough. She was quiet. But during the period where Amberlynn and Emily and I would sit on FaceTime calls, Emily would always make these weird little suggestive comments that let me know that she was not a good person. I specifically remember one of the FaceTime calls where Amberlynn was talking about semaglutide, and she was debating whether she should DoorDash or not. But Emily was so persistent, like, yeah, you know, you should DoorDash. I want to, like, watch. But I was still on the phone, so Amberlynn was like,
I want to watch you eat. No. That's a little weird. And if Emily did enjoy that kind of thing, you know, hey, you're going to be eating dinner, let me watch you eat dinner. Scythe, right, she didn't want to be, yeah, exactly. Alexis is the one that decided to get messy and start posting shit and ended the friendship. Who's hotter, Lex or Emily? Chat, let's play. Well, chat isn't very big, so you only have a few people. I think Alexis's personality is ugly, so... And I don't know enough about Emily's personality other than that she enjoys Fifi.
Like, no, like, I don't want to cheat on my diet. Like, I've been doing good. Like, she actually exhibited some self-discipline in that conversation. But then Emily DoorDashed for herself, and she was like, come on, babe, like, let's eat dinner together. So Amberlynn then eventually did DoorDash, and they...
Okay, so I will say, people in a long-distance relationship do... I can't speak. People that are in long-distance relationships will sometimes eat dinner together over video chat, or like cook dinner together over video chat, and then eat together over video chat, because then it feels like you are with the person you're in a relationship with. But it seems like, according to Alexis, that Emily was more like a, ooh, I want to watch you eat, yeah, baby, you know, kind of a thing.
They did both eat. And I just...
Imagine being the third wheel in that. I know. I was wondering, why are there FaceTime calls with Alexis, Amber, and Emily? Why are they doing FaceTime calls together?
Just want to note that this is before they met in real life, and this was before I announced that I wasn't going to be friends with her anymore. And Amberlynn was still on semaglutide at the time. So on top of Amberlynn being lazy and not wanting to stick with a plan or stick with a diet, it was also Emily that encouraged her to stop taking the semaglutide.
I do think that she convinces herself that her lies are true because she wants them to be true. It's really hard to explain why I think that, but I feel like I've seen it happen.
A lie that really stands out to me that Amberlynn told me was regarding who she was seeing and who she was talking to right after her and Beck had broken up. So she was talking to Jade, but apparently she...
Right after she and Beck broke up? Okay.
Also was talking to a girl named Alex, and allegedly...
A girl named Alex. Didn't she make up a name for Jade as being Alex, one of the names that she made up?
Jade allowed Amberlynn to eventually meet this girl, even though they were together.
Well, wifey was Polly, right?
However, Amberlynn told me this after she stopped allowing Jade and I to talk to each other, and I...
Wait. Amberlynn didn't meet Lex until she and wifey broke up. So why was Lex talking to wifey in the first place after Amber and wifey broke up?
I don't have Jade's information, so there's no way that I could like reach out to confirm. But every time that I would bring up that situation for clarification, she would never give me the same story twice. Like she would never present the same story as she...
Well, why is it any of your business?
...did initially. So that leads me to believe that she did believe her own lies because she would tell me lies, and then in her head I could like hear her justifying in her head why that lie was true. I don't really know how to explain it either, but I know for a fact that she lied all the time.
The only other red flag
I can't explain it and I can't give you an example, but I can tell you that she lies all... What?
I've really seen from Amber was she did have a crush on Billie Eilish when Billie was just starting out. So I think she was a teenager around then, which I told her was weird, and so did Eric and Ricky. But she said that she was almost an adult and that she acted older and looked older, so it was okay. I just really wished I would have dug deeper into these things and taken it more seriously because they really are awful and it's unacceptable behavior. But I will always stand with victims.
So one thing I want to mention relating to this topic. So I was the one that brought to the public that Amberlynn was talking to a 20-year-old romantically.
Oh yes, Alexis, I was the one that brought to the public. 20 years old is an adult. It might be quite a large age gap, but 20 is an adult. And I believe Amber did say, according to Amber, that this person lied about their age when they first started talking.
So not only was there a 13-14 year difference between the two, there is something that I would like to mention regarding Abby and Amberlynn's relationship. So the only reason why Amberlynn and Abby didn't start dating was because Abby had a very religious upbringing, and Amberlynn would tell me that Abby would cry to her and tell her that her talking to Amberlynn in that way was wrong in her eyes, and that her family would never accept her, or Amberlynn for that matter. And this young girl was truly having an identity crisis. But Amberlynn would tell her, like, it's okay to be gay, God doesn't hate gays, which I personally agree with, and I am all for trying to encourage young people to be who they are without any shame, as long as it's not hurting them or somebody else. But with Amberlynn, she was using these tactics as a way to manipulate this girl so that Amber...
But how do you know that? Are you just speculating on that? I mean, maybe Amberlynn was just trying to make her feel okay about being gay. There's no evidence there that Amberlynn was trying to pursue anything with this person. Yeah, Stitch and Stream, you're the one making that weird. We have no evidence that points to that call being inappropriate, right?
Amberlynn could have what she wanted, which was a relationship with this 20-year-old girl. I also wanted to mention that
we don't have any evidence of that.
Before I became friends with Amberlynn, I did not know anything about Libby, and I didn't know that Amberlynn had a weird history with liking or being inappropriate around.
She never had any interest in Libby. We don't have any proof of her having any interest. Was Amberlynn immature and inappropriate with people? Yeah. I think that came down to her immaturity, most of it. And feeling like she was younger than what she was. Mara's back again. Oh, yay, it's Lex. Oh, yes, yay, it's Lex. Yeah, Heather, she's making making those allegations.
Minors, and that I did tell her that talking to a 20-year-old romantically was weird, and that even though she was technically legal and of age, a 20-year-old's mindset is drastically different than a 33, 34-year-old's mindset.
Yeah, it is. Let's look at Jerry Seinfeld. It's an inappropriate age gap for a lot of people. Being in your mid-30s dating a 20-year-old could just feel, ick, because it's like you don't have a lot in common. They do still seem really young. But if you're a celebrity, it's a-okay. Right? I mean, if you're Leonardo DiCaprio, once they turn 28, they're gone. But again, this person would have been legal, and if Abby was the one that approached Amber Lynn and was pursuing Amber Lynn, and then Amber Lynn found out how old Abby was, actually, because apparently Abby had lied about her age, then she was like, okay, no, I don't want to date you, but I'll be your friend. Keemstar. Yeah.
Granted, I now understand that Amber Lynn's emotionally and mentally stunted, so I could...
Yes, I would say that Amber Lynn doesn't exhibit the emotional and mental maturity of somebody in their mid-30s. She's getting closer, but certainly not whenever she was in her mid-20s, whenever she was with Destiny. She certainly wouldn't have had the emotional and mental maturity at that time.
See from her perspective, her feeling ensured that this relationship was okay. And from a legal standpoint, I guess it would have been okay, but from a
legal standpoint, it would have been perfectly fine. From a moral standpoint, we can judge people for that, but at the end of the day, it's not my relationship. And if the 20-year-old is consenting, sure, people could look at it as, grooming or whatever, because they are so young, but they are an adult. They are making their own decisions. And when they get a little bit older, they could be like, wow, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have dated a 34-year-old when I was 20. But Amber Lynn did not date Abby and did not pursue a relationship with Abby.
Moral and social standpoint, it's really not. I just turned 29 in January, and I couldn't imagine myself dating anyone under 24, and 24 would be pushing kind of close, at least for me, because I want a girlfriend that I can have intelligent conversations with, and we're working towards the same goals, and we have similar...
Doesn't she have a girlfriend?
Interests. And I just don't get how a 20-year-old and a 33 or 34-year-old could be on the same page about anything.
Well, again, it depends on the maturity level of the person.
Times that I had tried to break up with her, but she would somehow find a way to stop it from happening by saying that she would fix things and things would get better and we would get better.
So Beck saying this reminded me of the time that I kind of stopped trying to be friends with Amber Lynn. I don't know if I necessarily said...
When I kind of stopped trying to be friends with Amber Lynn. You mean in August of last year when you decided to be messy and post all of those Q&A videos and then got back to being friends with Amber and then did the same shit in December?
We can't be friends anymore, but I think I said something along the lines of, we need to take a step back, or we need to cut some things out of our communication with each other.
Mademoiselle Scythe, Alexis doesn't seem like a person to have a good conversation with. Yeah, I don't think I could have a productive conversation with Alexis.
Because I had a girlfriend and she was single at the time, but she would start communication with each other. Because that back, or we need to cut some things out of our communication with each other. Because I had a girlfriend and she was single at the time, but she would still make really suggestive comments publicly, on Facebook, calling me daddy, even though I was in a relationship and everyone...
She could have been joking. I don't know. But Alexis was pursuing Amber Lynn though as well. So I don't know.
Knew that. But anyway, so there was this one night where she flipped out because I wasn't talking to her enough because I was at my girlfriend's house at the time. And she left me this voicemail.
Yes, it actually is possible to eat healthy and still have a life.
Factor has made the biggest difference in how I eat and how I stay on track with my goals. Look at that.
Hello. So my abandonment thingy is happening right now. I'm getting a little irrational with anxiety and fear, so that's why I keep texting. But I just wanted to apologize if I came off as mean or insensitive or anything the way that I want to treat you always, because you're a good friend of mine. Why am I about to start crying in a voice message? Like, I need help. I don't like when we argue. It does not feel good. It feels very lonely and painful. I hope you and Bailey have a really good night. And again, I'm sorry. I don't want either of you mad at me, because I definitely never meant any ill will at all. Love you guys.
So, listening back to that,
That sounds like Amberlynn was recognizing, okay, I'm texting Alexis a lot because she was having BPD issues or whatever, I guess. So she acknowledged that, at least. Which, didn't Alexis do the same thing in December? When Amber wasn't talking to her enough, and that's what sent Alexis back off the deep end again in December?
that apology does actually sound kind of genuine.
Hey, Aaron. Good to see you.
For her. But it just makes me sad, because I know that back then I believed that it was genuine and I felt bad for her, which is literally why she sent that to me and why she wanted to apologize in the first place. Because when she was lonely or she felt like she was losing her grasp on me, she would be more kind sounding and more attentive. But keep in mind, this is when she didn't have a girlfriend.
But you do the same thing, Alexis. You do the exact same fucking thing.
This is when she was single, so there wasn't anyone or anything occupying.
Oh, you're working late. Well, I hope you have a good evening.
Her time.
She did go to therapy for a very, very short time when we were together, maybe a few sessions. But no, she was not diagnosed with BPD while we were together.
I think I've said this before, but Amberlynn absolutely has not been diagnosed with borderline, or now she's been saying that she has CPTSD. And granted,
I don't think Alexis knows that unless Amberlynn told her I haven't been diagnosed. Because Amberlynn was diagnosed with these things allegedly before she even met Alexis. So Alexis is just talking out her ass.
both of those diagnoses are possible for the things that she has been through in her life. However, there are a lot of other mental illness diagnoses that it could be as well. There is no doubt in my mind that she has some type of cluster B disorder. But until you are evaluated by a
Alexis is talking out of her ass. She does not know. Nobody knows for certain if Amberlynn has been diagnosed with these things except for Amberlynn. Nobody knows this except for Amberlynn. And her therapist that diagnosed her at the time. So Alexis is just talking out of her ass. Mars says, Amber and Lex's friendship was weird and their feud is even weirder, but it is livening up Girl World after it's been so boring for a while. I don't know about that. I just don't care for what Alexis has to say. I just don't care. 'Cause she talks out of her ass all the time. Sagan, what is the point Alexis is trying to make here? That sounded like a sincere apology, more sincere than the apologies Amber posts on her YouTube. Yeah, I mean, it sounded pretty sincere to me. It sounded like a moment of self-awareness as into why she was doing what she was doing. Mademoiselle Scythe, get her, Sagan.
Professional or a group of professionals, you have no idea what you have. And you can't just use, in my mind, that she has some type of cluster B disorder. But until you are evaluated by a professional or a group of professionals, you have no idea what you have.
And according to Amberlynn, she was before she met Alexis.
You can't just use Google and AI chat to diagnose yourself. It doesn't work that way. And from my perspective, this is just another lie that she has told that she has fully convinced herself to be true.
Right. The thing is, like I said, we do not know. The only person that knows if she's actually been diagnosed with these things is Amberlynn. You know, armchair psychologists and psychiatrists can sit back here and be like, no, Amberlynn doesn't have this because I have it, and she doesn't exhibit everything the same way that I do. People are gatekeeping mental illnesses, and how fucking weird is that? I mean, it's just bizarre for people just to be like, no, Amberlynn doesn't have this because she does this, or she has this but she doesn't do this and this. It's just stupid.
When I was young, I wanted to be a doctor.
Oh, we have an ad.
I ended up making oatmeal. I'm Brian Tate. I'm the founder and CEO.
I don't think
Mara says she does speak on lots of things that she's not actually involved in, and it's just funny that she actually drags up old text and videos. Lex will go, yeah, it's just...
she has ever truly been confident in herself or in her own interests enough to just be herself around people. Or maybe she knew that who she really wasn't as likable as the people she wanted to befriend, so it was easier to act like them than to be judged or scrutinized for her own personality and behavior. I think it's important to find people who like you for who you are, but I think she didn't feel like that was possible, so she had to be someone else with everyone. If she had just been herself, she could have formed real friendships a long time ago.
Yeah, we've already we just watched this, so I'm not going to give my opinion on that
and
again.
Been actually working on herself and improving all this time.
I wholeheartedly agree. I truly believe that I would often find myself wondering if we were really that similar or if she was parroting all of my little phrases or...
She would probably parrot back the same thing. She would take on things from Alexis, probably, for better or for worse. Or Alexis is just really a lot like Amberlynn.
Parts of my personality.
She never admitted to lying about a disorder, but I think that's because she genuinely believes that she has every single one
My hair
that she
is a
says
mess.
she has. She would self-diagnose constantly based on how she felt and a few Google searches.
I just want to say one thing to Amber because I know that she's going to watch this. So, Amber, I know that it's really hard for you to be accountable for your own actions and to tell the truth in the way that things had actually happened and not your own twisted version of the truth. But once you realize that life isn't going to get better until you start taking accountability for your own actions, and when you realize that you can't blame everyone else in the world for your own shortcomings, and you actually decide to get the help that you clearly need, life does get better and life does get easier, and dealing with big emotions or scary situations becomes less of a crisis and more of an everyday thing that everyone has to deal with.
So it's ironic that Lex is giving this little speech to Amberlynn, because how the fuck is Lex helping Amberlynn's mental health by trying to post these tea videos? How is Lex helping Amberlynn to do any of these things? She's not. And maybe Lex needs to get her shit together.
With Amber, she would be very defensive anytime I'd try to ask her if she may be bisexual. She would say no and accuse me of trying to label her or change who she was. I'd ask about it because she would talk a lot about being with guys. I do understand being confused about your identity and wanting to explore that, but I was never really given that opportunity to support her or to allow her to explore that part of her. We didn't talk more about it because she was so adamant that she only liked women and would shut me down anytime I asked about possibly being bi.
So this was actually the part of Beck's new video where I paused the video and decided that I was going to make my own. So a couple things about this. Amber would literally always ostracize me anytime that I would talk about anything that wasn't another woman. She would be like, oh, I thought you were a lesbian. Or, oh, I don't really like bisexual girls, whenever I would share an experience that I've had. First of all, if we're not dating, it doesn't really matter the experiences that I've had. And even if we were dating, who are you to judge me? Secondly, I would not really say that I'm bisexual, but this is not about me. I just think it's funny how she accepted that from Jade, the being bisexual, and she would have entertained a 3-person rendezvous with Jade had the opportunity arose. Not to mention, when she was talking to Danielle and Abby and Erica, she was also talking to a guy. You know what? Let me see if I can find the receipts. Yeah, so I found...
That guy just... So Amberlynn is saying, that guy just told me he is catching feelings for me, and it hurt him when I said I was in love with someone else, LMAO. And then Lex says, oh God, lol. And Amber says, he is saying the sweetest stuff to me, lol. And Alexis says, dude, he's hot, go for it. And Amberlynn says, haha, but I'm a lesbian. And Lex says, so, just see what happens. And Amber's,
found them. And here is the conversation that we had regarding her conversations with him.
She just sewed the dude's face. People are going to find this guy Dalton, that's who they mentioned in the live stream. This is that Dalton guy people brought up. I guess Amber sent Lex a screenshot of this conversation. So I guess she says, I'm doing all right. How are you? And Dalton showed a picture of a car and said, hey, sorry, I haven't been as active. I've been working overtime, saving up for my new whip. Haha. And Amber says, that's totally fine. Wow, that's a nice car. Dang. And he says, thanks. Now I can make the trip to Oklahoma in style. Wink. Hey, it's Chris. Good to see you. And Amberlynn says, haha, that's funny. That would definitely be in style. And he says, I'm just missing a baddie passenger princess to go with it. And Amberlynn says, I'm sure you'll find one soon enough, lol.
Sitting on my couch.
I don't know if I want to play this. I don't want to... Oh my god. This poor guy. Alexis knows how this community is. And she's sharing this guy's name and the video that he sent to Amberlynn. Oh, Alexis.
I really don't want to get up, but I guess I have to now, because he just hung up on the phone with me, even though we were having a great conversation. I don't even know what I want to do now. I could clean my bathroom or my kitchen. I think I need your input on this.
You can come clean my bathroom and kitchen, dude. Sigh, that's effed up. He gives American Sala vibes. Yeah, I don't know how far this goes. I don't know what he says to Amber.
This game, you're not ready for it.
As for the guy, oh my god. He's a subscriber type deal type situation.
He's a subscriber type deal type situation. So again, I skipped past what he was saying. Just because I don't want to dox this guy. I mean, he's already out there, but
and
anyone remotely, nothing bad, just ice cream. Anyone remotely involved in Amber or side characters will always get plastered over forums and videos. It's weird but inevitable. It really is, and it's really not okay. So,
oh my god. He's a subscriber type deal type situation, and I think that he might have a fetish for the bigger girlies, and he's super attractive. I can say that. Like, you can look at him and you can be like, oh yeah, he's cutie.
Yeah, I mean, just because you're a lesbian, I'm a lesbian, I can objectively look at a guy and say, he's attractive. Doesn't mean I'm attracted to him. It just means I'm like, yeah, that's an attractive guy. Doesn't mean I'm attracted to them. Just like with women, that's an attractive woman. Doesn't mean I'm attracted to her. It's...
Well... We exchanged numbers. I was super freaking drunk. He ended up calling me, and we had a little moment that rhymes with tone pecs.
Oh my god. Rhymes with tone pecs, eh?
Yeah, it happened.
So drunk Amber had tone pecs with some dude. All he says he wants to go to Oklahoma and bring her coffee ice cream. Dude, bring me some coffee ice cream. Like, this dude is irrelevant, really. It's just the drama that Lex can make from it now that she's remonetized. Yeah. So Amberlynn had this guy showing her interest, and she had a little phone call with him.
It is not my finest moment. I have been extremely lonely. I have been confused. I have been going through it.
It's not my finest moment. I've been confused. I've been going through it. Oh, notice Alexis didn't play her own comments here.
I'm literally heartbroken over two people at once. I have been turning to alcohol. I felt lonely, and he made me feel like I was the hottest thing ever. And it just kind of happened. It is what it is.
So Amberlynn was drinking, heartbroken, and feeling vulnerable, and had tone pecs with this Dalton fella. I mean, she wasn't physically doing anything with him. This is just weird, and I guess would say more about Amberlynn's state of mind, and that she wanted somebody to give her attention, and this guy was giving her attention. It's just weird. Amber has no stranger danger. Anyone could record that. Crumble cookie round 2. Bring those standards up, girl. This is embarrassing. No more crumble cookie, please. Yeah.
So was all of that talk about me liking guys and how it's gross just you projecting?
As for my experience as a non-binary person,
I mean, I don't know why Lex would bring all of this up and dox this guy, basically. I mean, she gave us his name, what he looks like. I mean, we don't have any more information about him. His car, if that was his car, was there. We could see, I think we could see a house number on the front door of that house in the picture. Or it could have just been something hanging on the door. But people are going to find this guy now and give him shit.
with Amber, I did bring it up a few times in our relationship. The only response I got was always, I don't know, you seem like a woman to me. It took me saying something publicly in a video recently to get her to respect my pronouns and name. So I think Amberlynn didn't understand these things until a couple years ago, and that would just be her ignorance, I think. That if I'd come out at that time, that she would have respected that decision.
She did not look like a girl. She taped on her boobs on purpose, so they'd always think that was a boy, so it was just really weird.
Yeah, this would be just Amberlynn's ignorance on the trans community when it came to Casey, and not understanding these things. And with Beck, probably just she wouldn't have understood non-binary. This comes down to Amberlynn's ignorance and immaturity, and she's developed and grown and learned over the last several years on this, at least. So good for her for growing in that respect.
Because I'm not into that.
That audio was from a couple years ago when Amberlynn was addressing, I believe, Casey. And
I think that audio was from like 8 years ago, wasn't it? This was from a long time ago. Not, I don't believe that was from just a few years ago. I think that was from when she was with Destiny, wasn't it?
And how he looked like a boy, but Amberlynn wasn't into that. So no, I don't think that Amberlynn would have respected Beck coming out as non-binary. And
at that time, I don't think she would have understood it because of her ignorance on these things.
When Amberlynn and I would talk about Beck, Amberlynn would still use she, her pronouns, even though...
Because at that time, Beck had said they were okay with those pronouns in addition to they. Only when Beck came back last month did Beck say, I want to only go by they. I don't want to use she, her anymore. So at the time, calling Beck she last summer still would have been acceptable because Beck had said they were okay with those pronouns at that time.
She knew better. Amberlynn doesn't respect and won't respect anything that she doesn't understand or identify with. So in the beginning of this video, I said,
I will say Amberlynn has been really, really good at using Beck instead of Becky and using they and them instead of she and her the last month. Amber's been really good about that, so she's trying at least on that aspect. So Alexis is bringing up things that are irrelevant because at the time, as far as anybody knew, Beck was okay with those pronouns at the time. That thing about Casey, I believe, was from years ago. It wasn't just a few years ago. So
that I was going to try to find clips from Amberlynn's videos regarding semaglutide to pull and put into this video. However, I'm really struggling to find those clips, so I'm just going to talk about what I know. So when Amberlynn was on semaglutide when she was with Erica, she allegedly was working with this company, and if she
was working with a med spa,
a certain amount of weight and was promoting it on her channel and was doing well off of the semaglutide. Apparently she had this link, and if people were getting semaglutide from her link, she would get kickbacks, or I think
no, that is not true. Because Amberlynn was doing her semaglutide through a med spa at that time. She was contacted by a company to possibly do these promotions, but then she looked up the terms of service on YouTube and was like, oh, this is considered a medication. I can't do this sponsorship with them.
She said that she would be able to take it for free for herself, but she never stayed on semaglutide long enough to see any results, which means she never promoted the company and she never...
Because that's not what it was, Lex. It was... She was going through a med spa. She wasn't going through a separate company. And I don't think the med spa would have been like, oh, you can promote this. So...
shared her link and she never got the kickbacks. I am going to end this...
Because it would have been against terms of service also, which is what... Because you can't promote a medication, I believe was what Amberlynn had read in the terms of service. So you're just talking out your ass.
This video here. Thank you to everyone that watched this video and any of my other videos. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Okay, bye.
No. Alright, so I did notice that she had posted something on her community tab a bit earlier. She said, hey everybody, I'm currently working on a small project that I have been asked to create by some of you. I'm getting close to finishing it, and I'm projecting to have it uploaded by tomorrow. Oh, for fuck's sake. I also wanted to say that I apologize for not blurring Dalton's face in my last video. I sincerely hope that nobody is trying to go out of their way to find him IRL, although it appears nobody has found anything. Are you kidding me? I'm sure he's already all over the farms, all over Kiwi Farms. I just also want to say that the picture of the car in my video was not Dalton's car, just a car that he was looking at because he was saving up for a car at the time. It was in his driveway. Was he just test driving it? I don't know his age, and I don't know his backstory besides Amberlynn confirming he has a fertilizer and was trying to meet up with her. Thank you to all of my new subscribers, and thank you to all of my returning subs who continue to watch my videos. I do not watch them because I enjoy them. I will tell you that. I think you are... I think you're a parasite. A Q&A. God, I hope it's not a Q&A. Alexis is a cockroach. She'll never go away. I know, Scythe. I know. Sagan Lex talks about something she actually doesn't know. Wow, I'm shocked. Lamau. Yeah. So we watched Beck's Q&A. I said everything I needed to say about that whenever we watched it. We just watched Lex's little video. Again, I just don't care for Lex a whole lot. And that could color my opinions of what she says. Because I think she's just a horrible person. But she's talking about things that she doesn't know anything about. It's like, I don't give a shit what you think about what Becca said. I really don't. But yet, I watched the video, but I made you all suffer too. So, I don't know. I don't know, folks. We'll see what she uploads. Tomorrow is Friday. I think I do have myself scheduled. Let me check. Am I sharing? No, okay, I'm not sharing my screen. Good. Let me check my calendar. Friday, I have myself scheduled to stream at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Amberlyn should upload tomorrow. Yes, Amberlyn should upload tomorrow. So we will watch Amber's video tomorrow. And then I have myself scheduled to stream in the evening to stream some video gameplay. And then I have myself scheduled to stream on Saturday. I'm just so tired of all this bullshit. But yeah, Heather is streaming right now. I'll pop over and hang out with her for a bit while I'm working before I have a meeting here in 45 minutes. But yeah, I'm going to get off here so I can do a little bit of stuff before my meeting. I streamed an hour longer than I meant to. Well, 45 minutes longer. But thank you all so much for being here and for spending a little bit of your time with me. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening. Have a fabulous Friday. And yeah, go check out Stitch and Stream. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the night. Thank you for being here. And I will hopefully see you next time. But until then, be safe and take care.